Okay, we're starting our study again where we left off last time at Ezekiel chapter 3, starting at verse 12. And I'm in Job, so I was just talking with Taylor and told him a little bit. So now we're turned to Ezekiel 3:12. Ezekiel 3:12 says, "Then the Spirit lifted me up, and I heard a great rumbling sound behind me. Blessed be the glory of the Lord in his place. And I heard the sound of wings and of the living things touching one another, and the sounds of wheels beside them, even a great rumbling. So the Spirit lifted me up and took me away, and I went embittered in the rage of my spirit, and the hand of the Lord was strong upon me. Then I came to the exiles." So here is Ezekiel, and he was actually in, and he has been moved around through the air, who lived beside the river Chebar. And so he is there, and he's been moved around. So we need to also look to Ezekiel chapter 8. Ezekiel 8, starting in verse 1. "And it came about in the 6th year, on the 5th day of the 6th month, as I was sitting in my house, and his house is in Babylon, with the elders of Judah sitting beside me, and the hand of the God fell on me there. Then I looked, and behold, a likeness as the appearance of a man. It was a fireman. From his loins and downward there was an appearance of fire, and from his loins upward there was appearance of brightness, like the appearance of glowing metal. He stretched out the form of a hand and caught me by the lock of my head, and the Spirit lifted me up." And that's where, in other words, he lifted Ezekiel up from Babylon, "between the earth and heaven, and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem." Now, this says a vision because we know that sometimes, Ezekiel's describing this as a vision, but we don't know for sure if he went in a vision or if he was actually taken in person. We know that John was actually taken in person forward in time when he wrote Revelation. But this does say visions, and he was, in other words, he was taken from Babylon, whisked through the air, and then ended up at Jerusalem, but he is back in time. And this is approximately 15 to 20 years back in time, you see, because Jerusalem has been destroyed by this time. There is no Jerusalem, and there is no temple by this time. So he has taken him back in time to what is going on, the reason. In other words, he's telling Ezekiel, this is the reason that Jerusalem and the temple were destroyed. Then he said to me, "Son of man, raise your eyes now," verse 5, "and look toward the north." So I raised my eyes and looked toward the north, and behold, to the north of the altar gate was the idol of jealousy at the entrance. In other words, so he's looking at all these idols. These idols are in and around the temple. And God's saying that is why Israel had to go into captivity, because of what had been going on in Jerusalem. All these idols were there. And he said to me, "Son of man, do you see what they are doing, the great abominations which the house of Israel are committing here, so that I would be far from my sanctuary? But yet you will see still greater abominations." And he goes through here at all these abominations and how they're having in the temple of God, they're worshiping all these various idols, and they are in fact having sex orgies in the house of God, And while they're worshiping these temples are these idols, if you wanted to continue reading down through chapter 8. But he was in his house in Babylon, and he was taken back to Jerusalem before it was destroyed.